So in this episode, we talked to Derek Lyon, founder of Dlbootroom, probably the most prolific collector of boots, well, one of the most prolific collector of boots in the world.
In the world, no doubt.
Absolutely insane collection that he's got. We've loved checking him out on Instagram and the collection of boots that he has. He came on and talked to us about some classic boots that he owned. Some of his favorite ones,
the best of 2020,
and in general just had a fantastic chat with us about boots and football in general. So stay tuned, and we hope you like the clips that we've got coming up with him.
So I got into this hobby I bought my first pair of limited edition boots about 12 years ago. It was a pair of Adidas Predator Pulse. They came in this massive wooden box. It was, it was crazy. Getting on a plane to bring back from Britain to Qatar was quite difficult in the first place, And that was my first limited edition pair that I bought. And at that time, I was messing around with a lot of match-worn stuff and signed memorabilia. That was sort of my first passion. I'm a Man United fan. So I was getting as many Man United signed shirts as I could, and then the natural progression from that was to go into match-worn shirts, but the price then seems to go up and up and up when you get into the match-worn side of things. And then I had an unfortunate incident where I actually bought a shirt that I thought was a genuine match-worn shirt. I mean, it's really hard to tell with match-worn shirts and stuff like that, what's actually genuine and what's not. You got to trust the people you're buying it from, and I trusted the guy I was buying it from, and to be fair, he was a very legitimate seller. And I had the shirt for about a year and a half, and then I sold it on to purchase something else, as I do. And I sent it to a guy in America, and within like 2 minutes of him opening, he said, "This isn't right, this is the wrong shirt," and stuff like that. I had to give him his money back, got the shirt back to me, and at that point, I just kind of really went off shirts. I just having such a bad experience, thinking that you own something. It was a Chicharito match-worn shirt with a poppy on the front of it.
All right.
So, you knew the game it was from, everything about it was really special. And then I just got in a bit of a low at that point, thinking you spent a lot of money. It was £1,000 for that shirt, or £800 or something for that shirt. It's a lot of money. And you find out that it's fake, you're absolutely not that it was fake. I just knew it wasn't the match worn one. It was still a player spec shirt. It definitely came out of Man United and stuff, but it wasn't the shirt I thought it was. So I went off them, and then that was around 2012 roughly, and that was actually when the GS book that we'd been chatting about had just been launched for the Olympics and stuff like that. And then I bought that one, and then it just kind of took off from there. I bought a couple of early Predators already at that point in time, but when I bought the early Predators, I never thought this was going to turn into the hobby that it's turned into. It was like, I want to get the Adidas Predator, the original one from 1994. My wife actually got me that for a Christmas present one year. She found it in Poland, I think it was on eBay or something like that, randomly found it. And I got that one. I thought, that's a nice book to have in the collection of all my football memorabilia at this point in time. And then, from there, it's just gone boom. And it's, like I say, now I'm sitting at it's about 400 pairs or something in the collection.
Wow. Where do you keep all of those? Have you got a specific room for them, or are they just dotted around the house, or?
Well, I always have had a room. We've actually just moved jobs. You know what, like moving jobs is like here in the Middle East and stuff like that. You get accommodation sometimes attached. So I've started working for another school here, and the accommodation they've given us. So I don't have my own room just now. Hence the sort of playing background. I did a video for my own Instagram channel last night. This is the background for it. But it's working. We've only been here for about a month or 6 weeks or so. So all the books and wardrobes and cupboards, and this is my office space just now because, as you know, I'm a school teacher. We're teaching online at the school that we're in just now. I've got boots in the corner over here for when I do my videos and photographs. They get swapped in, swapped out, drives the wife nuts, the amount of boots that are just sort of lying around as well. But it is what it is for just now. And hopefully in the next sort of couple of years, I'll get my own boot room back again, and then I can get everything laid out properly the way that I like doing it and stuff like that again. So
how do you keep them in good nick? I mean, is there a regime that you've got for the boots? Do you sort of, keep them in a special type of storage, or do you clean them every so often? Like what's the process around that?
I'm 42 now, so my playing days are past me. I've got a couple of pairs of boots that I do keep for playing, and when I'm coaching and stuff like that, there's a couple of pairs of boots that I keep for that. Every so often, I'm tempted to go out with one of the new ones, but then they're never the limited edition stuff. But no, to be honest, all the boots I get them, they're just kept in the box. I've got my AC set at 23 degrees, and when I have my own room, it's set at 23 degrees all through the year. It's never the electricity bills get racked up in the summer. That's for sure. But it's just got to be kept that temperature. I bought a few pairs of boots from sellers in Malaysia and stuff like that. I mean, I recently bought a pair of Patrice Evra issued boots, And he sent me a picture of when he first got them in 2012, I think it was. He got them direct from Man United. And the condition of those boots now, because of the sort of the humidity out there and stuff like that, boots are absolutely trash. They look like they've been well worn. They haven't been worn at all. It's just that that's the way the boots have been kept and stuff. Like the sole plates cracked on them, and around the sock liners just peeling away completely. But I'm lucky here, having my own space normally to keep them in. That air conditioning is just very, very important to keep the boots at the right temperature. But some boots you just can't do anything with. I've had, I was going to show you this later, but I'll just show this boot, which obviously from 2002. This boot itself, this is the third pair of this boot I've actually had, because when I first started collecting, I put them on display in my living room. I was a single guy at the time, so have living room space for stuff like that. And they actually went yellow on the fins here at the front, just from the sun hitting them. So this boot's actually kept normally in a UV protected box from Crep, I think it's called. Just to try and keep them. And so far, I mean, I've had this boot now for about 5 years now, and the fins are staying perfectly white on it and stuff like that, which is fantastic. It's one of the classics I was going to show you later on.
We were literally just talking about those exact ones. Saying, I think we both owned a pair back then.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They were absolutely amazing to play in.
I loved them. Absolutely.
For me, that's probably my favorite Predator to wear. I love the Accelerator from before that, the 98. That was my first Predator I ever bought. But the precision to play in, for me, it was the best. I mean, a lot of people talk about the Mania that came after it and stuff like that. But for me, the precision was it looks amazing, looks classic, everything about it. And that colourway, obviously, for the English is a big thing with Beckham in the goal against Greece.
It's a huge marketing campaign around that.
Massive.
I remember back, around the 2002 World Cup, David Beckham and all of that. It was massive. He was the face of those, I remember.
Of course.
Sorry, I'm getting it wrong. 2000, not 2002, 2000.
2000. Way back, it was way before,
As
2002 was Fred Mania, the later one.
Yeah, ahead of the qualification for Japan and South Korea. Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct. Yeah. Goodness me. Okay. Those No, I'm glad you talked about boot condition actually, because I bought the Nike GS and they've been sitting in my cupboard for about 12 years, or no, when they came out in 2012, so 8 years. Sorry, they've been sitting there for like 8 years. And I took them out recently. I wanted to kind of just take a couple of pictures of them. And I noticed, because they're made of like recycled materials and sustainable and all that, the back heel has started to kind of fade.
That's an issue with everyone's pair of them. They go, it must be the material that's on them and stuff like that, because my pair are exactly the same. I'd say it was about 2 years ago, in one of my many moves in house, when I'm going through all my boots and stuff like that, I noticed the heel of mine was like that. And I watched a video this week of, I don't know if you know, have you ever watched any Unisport videos, but the guy Jacob over there who does a brilliant video, he did a whole boot collection video. He picked the GS out, and on the back of his, exactly the same, that whitening effect that you get from it. And that's Denmark, Dubai, Qatar. It doesn't matter where your weather is, that's just what happens to that material after such a long time of having them. And it's strange, it's just the heel. The sole plate stayed perfect, which is a similar material, it's just the heel. Yeah.
What I found was that if you get a cloth with a bit of just a bit of water and you just kind of give it a rub, it seems to kind of take some of that whiteness out. Now, how good it is, I'm not sure, but I mean, I did it. It worked. Who knows for how long, but yeah.
Give it a year.
Yeah. Very cool. Mate, so how did you get into, so you told us about how you got into the hobby, how you like maintaining it. I see some of the boots that you get your hands on, and I think, goodness me, how could this guy continue to afford these boots? Because they seem to be getting pricier and pricier and pricier with every kind of release.
It's a bit of both, though. I mean, the boots are getting pricier, but I'm also getting a lot pickier about what I'm actually buying now. Yeah. At the very start, I was buying everything. I just wanted to get a big collection of football boots. And I see that a lot with new collectors. In the last 2 years, Instagram, you guys have been looking on Instagram as well. There's lots and lots of collectors out there now. And at the start, I was buying everything I possibly could. I was going for, didn't matter about the condition of the boot. I just wanted, originally it was to try and get every Predator. That was the goal, the dream in the very start, was to get every Predator. And condition-wise, I just bought them. And they weren't, some of the boots weren't expensive. Some of them you're talking like 70, 80 pounds. People just wanted to get rid of them. Because when I started collecting, Instagram wasn't really a big, it was just done on eBay. No one was trying to outbid people or push prices up and stuff like that. So eBay was a lot easier to get your hands on stuff. And then a good friend of mine, a guy called Jorma Seaborn, he's been a collector for a long, long time, and he's done a little more work with. He's a big Nike collector. Then he got a job with Adidas and started working with them, and now he's got more of the Adidas side of things. Years ago he said to me that you get to a point where you stop looking for boots and you just wait for them to appear. And it's been one of the best bits of advice I've ever had, because for the last 4 or 5 years I've just stopped hunting boots as much. And normally I'm quite lucky that they appear in my Instagram feed, or people will see boots and they'll tag me in it straight away, knowing that it's a boot that I'm actively looking for and stuff like that. Yeah. But what I'm actually looking for now is a lot more, it's a lot more niche now, the stuff I'm looking for, rather than in the past where I was getting as much as I possibly could into my collection. It really is like match-worn Man United boots. I've got kind of back into the match-worn boot side of things. Because it's the sort of day-to-day football boots. That sounds really blasé. I don't mean it like that, because some people, that's what they really want. But for me, it's like I collect all the Superflies. I try to keep every Superfly colorway going. But the match-worn side of things is a lot harder to get into. So you're looking for certain people to try and tag you and stuff. And that's been, I've been quite lucky with that over the last sort of 2-3 years, people tagging me and stuff. So, but yeah, the prices are going up. And that's why I don't actively sell stuff. I get a lot of DMs from people saying, can I buy this? Can I buy that from you? And it's not something that I actively do, but every so often, I've got to sell sometimes big ticket items so that I can buy another big ticket item. I'm a school teacher. I don't make mega bucks and stuff. I obviously got a nice life and stuff like that. But I do have to buy and sell every so often just to try and get the next big thing and stuff like that. So.
And when it comes to like match worn boots specifically, it's something that's quite new to me. How do they assign sort of value to that? I mean, obviously you've got the player, how old they were, or what the player did in the boots, right? I mean, did he score a goal? Was it something particularly significant, a specific game? How do they value those boots?
Literally, think of a number. And if I ask you, if I say I want to buy a boot from you, you give me the number, and that's how it sounds really simple, but that is the way that the market's done. It's really impossible to say. I mean, I'll just take this boot, for example. This is Rio Ferdinand's boot from the Champions League final in 2011. I'm a massive, I was a centre back when I played football, and Rio Ferdinand was one of my Man United heroes and stuff like that. So to get the boot from the Champions League final was just incredible. And this boot, when I started bidding on it, so to speak, what actually happened was that on Facebook, a guy was trying to sell it, and I got, it's like when you live in this part of the world, they drop it at 9 o'clock at night in the UK because that's prime time for everyone, but it's midnight here. I woke up to about 6 people saying, look at this boot, look at this boot. I then eventually managed to find the guy on Facebook, found out that I had a mutual friend who works here in Qatar with me. So I got her to drop him a message saying, please don't sell the boots until you spoke to this guy. Went on and on. And he'd had a couple of good bids for it. And I reckon that, I started off at about £700 for them. And I knew that was probably going to be a very good price if I got them for that. And another guy had bid higher. And eventually we came to an agreement. It's about £1,100 I paid for them. But for me, a Champions League final match-worn football boot, and he was actually a Man United youngster. He was in the academy at the time. He was a goalkeeper in the academy. So the whole story was there, where he got it from. I actually bought a pair of Wayne Rooney's match-worn boots from him as well, because he had a couple of Rooney boots, Chris Smalling, Phil Jones, people like that. He had the boots, and the background behind it all tied in and made sense. And there's a few little things about that boot, like the carbon fiber insert on the inside, which he wore, the 6 stud on the bottom, all the actual font used is perfect. You can match it up to pictures. I mean, someone did say to me once the boots were spotless, but if you watch that final, Ferdinand didn't do much kicking that day. So to be fair, that's why the boots are so spotless, that's for sure. But, the match-worn side, it literally is whatever you want. I mean, I'll just show you another. I mean, this is the pride and joy of my collection, the Cristiano Ronaldo match-worn pair from when, and for me, this is special because it's when he was at Man United. Right. The Real Madrid boots and the Juventus boots are out there as well. And the prices on some of them are just crazy. One of these limited edition boots he wore for Portugal, I got contacted by someone and they said they were trying to negotiate a price. And I was like, my top offer was £5,000 for it, because it was solid proof and all that. And I thought, that's crazy money. And I said, and I need a month because I need to sell stuff. I need to, work on this. Anyway, went to bed that night. The deal was done at £5,000. I went, brilliant. Woke up in the morning to a message from the guy saying that he'd sold them for £11,000, and that the guy that was the guy's opening offer. And I can't even fault the guy for selling them. You know, it's a crazy amount of money for a pair of Ronaldo match-worn boots from when he was at Portugal. And so that's why it's really hard to price stuff. I mean, I don't really want to say how much I paid for this, but it wasn't that much compared to that kind of boot. And I mean, I've been offered £10,000 for this boot and stuff like that, and I won't sell it. It's, you know, this is my
silly,
you know, I'm a massive Ronaldo fan. I don't want to sell that ever, you know, and stuff. I'll only ever sell it if I absolutely had to, which sometimes situations happen that you need to do stuff like that. But, you know, those Ronaldo boots to me are the gem of my collection. And
I was actually going to ask you about that particular boot, but in the pink colorway. I think they brought it out around the same year with I think it was the limited edition Ribery. Have you got those? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I've got the berries as well. Yeah, they're in the wardrobe upstairs. Yeah, they did a re-release of that boot earlier this year for Kylian Mbappe.
That's right.
And the berries are nice, but it's funny because at the time I hated it. You know, 2008. It was the thought of someone wearing a pink football boot, especially Bentner of all people. You know, who no one really. You know, he was like, I mean, I know that Ribery wore it and stuff like that as well, but, you know, he was the face in England and Britain. I mean, he was sort of the face of the boot. Yeah. And I said, oh my God, I'm wearing a pink football boot. And at that time, I was only playing a Predator at that point in time and stuff like that, you know, and even I didn't even like the synthetics on the boots and stuff like that, you know, so the thought they brought a pink boot, it just went, but then, I mean, I'm a bit older and I remember when everything was black football boots. I mean, the first white boot came out. I remember that you'd put the guy up in the air for wearing white football boots. He'd always give you one hit on the guy free, you know, for wearing the white boots and stuff like that. So when pink and that eventually came along, it was obviously, and now, I mean, people love it, you know, the Mbappe boot and stuff like that this summer, everyone absolutely loved it, you know, and it's...
I can't remember, it might have been Puma, I think, that did it. They had two different color boots. Yeah, there's a pink one and then a sort of turquoise one, and a lot of players came out wearing sort of alternate colors. That to me, I was like, it took it too far for me. That you know, I was like, I'm okay with different colors. I'm okay with sort of, you know, wacky colors. A different color on each foot. I don't know about that.
Well, that was an old boot worn by Rigobert Song where he wore a red Puma King and a yellow Puma King. In the same game. So that tricks pack that they did in 2014 was sort of tribute to the original Rigobert Song thing. We actually did a limited edition release of the red and the yellow Puma King as well. That was about 2013, I think it was, or 2014. Okay. So they did the tricks thing a couple of times now. But I
got the first pair of the tricks. So I've got both of them, and they came in these nice metal cases as well. That you kind of pull each boot out of its own little kind of like metal sock type thing. Is interesting. Crazy. Yeah.
The tricks it's a very, very nice pack with tricks and stuff like that. But like you say, there's a lot of boots that are coming out now, like you just said, I call them the Marmite boots. You know, some love them and some absolutely. Apparently, Olivier Giroud hated the tricks pack and stuff. Didn't want to wear them. You know, because he didn't like that whole pink and blue thing going on and stuff. It wasn't popular with some of the professional players, apparently. I'm told. It's a special sort of player in the Sunday League. They can get away with a pink and a blue boot, let's be honest.
Without a broken leg. So we're traditionalists, and I mean, I think you are too, to a certain extent, in that, you know, again, like the boots used to come out in kind of black and white, or, you know, then they've kind of moved into this new direction. Where do you think they're going to go from here on out? Because we've kind of seen everything under the sun, essentially.
Yeah. A second part to that question would sort of be like, you know, we're seeing boots develop in technology. We're seeing them getting sleeker. We're seeing, you know, laces being hidden and whatnot. Yeah. But then a lot of companies are doing remakes, right? You know, you've got the Mizuno remakes from 2002, for example, that have come out. I loved those in 2002. The Rivaldo ones, they were great. And you know, they're sort of going back and doing that. Really, really cool. But sort of where do you draw the line between sort of performance? Is a remakes being done just for collectors like you know, so that there is a market, or are players actually planning to wear them, right? Is it really something about performance, or is it something just to do with how they look, or what's the whole reason behind that?
It's a bit of everything. I mean, everything in the world these days people seem to be going retro on, whether it's sneakers or trainers, whatever you want to call them. Yeah. Even to an extent, cars and stuff like that. You know, people are looking at the sort of the retro style car and wanting that kind of look again and things like that. So obviously the sneaker world is getting massive. You look at Jordan 1s, how many colorways of Jordan 1s do you see get released and stuff all the time and things like that. In the football boot world, what we've seen over the last, I'm going to say last 5 years since Instagram became massive, is that pro players are now looking for companies outside the big sellers from Nike, Adidas, looking for the resellers, trying to find old boots from, I don't want to call them old boots, because when people use the term retro, I think early 2000s, but I'm old. Retro for some people seems to be 2014, 2015 and stuff like that. I can head around that. But, you look at a lot of players now, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for these boots that are that traditional look from 5, 6, 7 years ago. They've got, I got into collecting because of all the nostalgia side of it. Like you guys, you've probably got favorite boots that you wore growing up and stuff like that. I thought of having one of those boots again, and if you're a professional player and you've got a boot you remember from 5, 6 years ago and you've got fond memories of scoring goals in it or playing good games in it, you can suddenly get a pair of them. I think that's what people want. I think the companies are getting smart now and realizing that there is a market for that. Yeah. And they don't want players wearing the older boots because that doesn't look good for them. They actually want them wearing a modern boot. I mean, I've got one here I was going to go talk about later, but obviously this is the brand new one that's just come out.
Yeah, 50.
F50 Adidas Ghosted. This is the Pro Direct model. Now, this is obviously a one-to-one upper of the boot from 2010 World Cup where Thomas Müller was the top goal scorer of the World Cup in it, but they've put it on the new carbon frame in the bottom. Yep. So this is giving players exactly what they want, so to speak. You're getting the classic look, the upper from before, but they're giving you. So it seems to be a lot about the tooling on the bottom of the boot. That seems to be sort of where the modern tech comes into the boots. Yeah. Seems to be. They love the look of the upper, but they want the technical side of things on the sole plate to be like that. So yeah, I think it's getting to a happy medium now, what players actually want. I'm seeing a lot of people here in Qatar, a lot of the professionals here in Qatar. I go to watch some of the Qatar Stars League matches and they're wearing the boots from 5, 6 years ago. I've got friends here that are some of the resellers here who, trawl the internet looking for boots, the Vapor 10s, Vapor 11s and stuff like that, because that's what the pro players here actually want. They don't want the latest Vapor 13, it seems. They want the Vapor 10, Vapor 11 and stuff like that, which, I don't understand it because I think the Vapor 13 is, it's a better football boot. The Vapor 12 and 13 they're better boots. But for whatever reason, some of the pro players who don't have contracts with Nike can choose what they actually want to wear are choosing to go with the older football boots and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a real funny one because I think people just want to keep that retro look to it. I mean, you see it I'm looking at football shirts behind you and stuff like, retro football shirts, some people love going back to the older style football shirts and stuff like that. When there's a limited edition football shirt released, it tends to always be a shirt from 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, from the 90s.
Human Race. I mean, that whole thing was, and all this Adidas Arsenal stuff that's coming out now, it's all based on the early 90s.
Human Race. The Human Race boot was exactly the same 98 accelerator, on the modern tooling and stuff like that. And the Human Race shirts were, they weren't my cup of tea. I'm not going to lie to you. I prefer the blue and white Man United one. I love the shirt. I love the Man United shirt version of it. I wasn't a huge fan of the actual shirt that you could buy in the shops.
Yeah, none of them really stood out.
No,
you've got to shell out sort of €100 for a.
Oh, and then some, They were a little bit more than that. Yeah. I mean, I looked at the Arsenal one. It looked like it was almost like tie dyed. It had the big kind of yellow and blue kind of V through it. Excuse me. The players all wore them in the warm up. Yeah, ahead of the match when they launched them. Excuse me. But no, it's not something I would kind of buy to wear. If anything, I'd buy it and just kind of keep it in the top of my.
I think they did a better job with the boots. I mean,
no doubt.
The ones that you just had up there, they're absolutely. I really kind of liked how he'd combined the two things there.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Pogba was the main guy wearing this boot and stuff like that. This just gave everyone exactly what they wanted. This is the other take on. We're talking about retro boots and stuff like that. I mean, this is obviously the Adidas version of it, where they've got their brand new laceless Predator with 406 spikes on it and stuff like that, and then they've given it the absolute classic look from 1998, and that's got everyone going. I mean, this was one of the most hyped boots of the year, and that's unusual because, I mean, even as a United fan, Pogba, drives me crazy a lot of times. But his signature boots don't tend to sell that fast. Whereas this one, although it wasn't technically a signature boot for him, he was involved in the collaboration, obviously, with Pharrell Williams and stuff like that. But this one did sell, it flew off the shelves. And I think that's because people that are a bit older love the Accelerator. People that are a bit younger don't remember the Accelerator, but they just appreciate that this is probably one of the most iconic Predator designs out there, so to speak, isn't it? Having that.
Do you think it's that people are also cottoning on to the fact that the boots are fetching bigger prices in the aftermarket, so they're trying to buy them and sell them off?
I always say you've got like a 48-hour window on something like that. You know, when a boot launches, you tend to have 48 hours of absolute hype. You know, I don't know if you saw a Dlbootroom boot that launched recently, the all gold one.
Yeah,
there's only 56 pairs of them in the world. You know, I didn't get a pair. It's probably the only morning I haven't had my phone in my hand. And I got a message, this boot's dropping, and from ProDirect, I got a message saying, please post these pictures, it's dropping in 10 minutes. That was a subtle hint saying, get ready for it. And I didn't see it until 2 hours later, the boot was sold out. And that boot, I've been offered about 3 pairs of it, and guys are wanting 4 or 5 times the price for it and stuff like that. And you know what? I mean, I've got a Dlbootroom boot in my collection that's more limited than that, and I can't sell it for the retail price that I bought it at.
Yeah.
You know? And so people will try and jump on the hype wagon and try and, like you said, get a boot like this and then try and sell it for as much as they can. But I mean, you still find there's a couple of websites that have still got this boot on there. You know, you need to know where you're looking, but depending if you're not fussed about a size, you can get this at retail still. But realistically, if you give it 6 months to a year, if you're not that keen on buying it straight away, you'll buy this boot for just over retail. You know, you don't have to pay the silly price. It's the people that try and push it and want the boots straight away. And I've been suckered into that in the past. You know, I bought boots for 2-3 times the launch price because I want to have it. I want to have it in my collection now. Whereas if you just wait for a little bit, the prices on some of them, because you're right, some of them do just keep going up into the crazy limited stuff of 100 pairs. That's never going to go down in price. That's always going to be worth. But I mean, I think it was 2,000 pairs of that human race boot released. 2,000 pairs in the football boot. I know in the sneaker world that's nothing, but in the boot world, 2,000 pairs is a lot of pairs.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You can still get your hands on quite a few of them. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, if you go on eBay now and you're going to pay double the price for that boot, that'd be about $450 in pounds. You'd probably pick a pair up, no problem at all. You know, it's just, but it's that hype of people sometimes that aren't in the game as much. They don't realize how easy it is to get their hands on a boot. They just, if someone asks for £1,000, I'll pay that because they're limited edition, they're this or that. But there are a lot easier ways to find these.
Yeah, no doubt.
Are there sort of any boot manufacturers? I mean, obviously you've got Nike, Adidas, Puma, Dlbootroom, Mizuno, like all these. Yeah. Are there any that are sort of new that are coming through in terms of boot manufacturers? I mean, I know there are a few kit manufacturers around the world like that. It's probably easier to produce kits, but are there any sort of boot manufacturers that people may not have heard of that are starting to sort of come in, get involved, break the trend, anything along those lines? Or
I mean, there's two that I am very aware of. A company called Kingdom Football Boots from the UK. They sent me a pair of their boots. So they sent me 2 pairs. I wore one of them, but what I liked about them was they're one of these new companies, and they actually priced the boot. I think it was about £90. Okay, it was a calf leather football boot. I'm not going to lie, it wasn't aesthetically the best looking football. It's the first attempt at a boot and stuff like that. But what I liked was the price point of it, because if you put a boot over £200, which another company I'll tell you about in a minute have done, I just don't think you're going to get anywhere in the market, because if you're going up against Adidas and Nike and Mizuno, I mean, I'm a huge Mizuno fan. You know, I think Mizuno do some of the best products.
Always have, actually. Yeah. They've got a great legacy. Yeah.
You know, fantastic boot there. And this Kingdom boot launched at £90. And I think, it's really, because that's targeting sort of Nike Premier, the Adidas Galoro and things like that. It's a good price point to come in. It's the first boot from the company, but they're going down the sort of ethical line as well. There, where the boots, they said it was British leather and stuff like that, and it's made in China still, but I think they sourced the leather in the UK and going to get the boots done and stuff, which is quite a nice thing. They're trying to push the boot brand and stuff like that, and it's my opinion on the boot when I got it. I was very honest with my feedback when I sent it back to them, but I was nice about it. And they said they'll still work with me if they get when they release another one and try and make little improvements. But I can't really fault it. One of my problems was I got bad blisters in the boot after 5 minutes of wearing it. But I wore the brand new Mizuno Morelli 3 Neo Beta edition, and I got blisters after 5 minutes wearing that. It's my feet. It doesn't matter, it's just some of them just don't suit and stuff like that. The other company is a company called Uno Zero. They've launched, it's number 10 pretty much, but they call it Uno Zero. They launched a beautiful football boot about a year and a half ago, but it was priced at, I think it was $270. Now, to me, that's touching Adidas top of the range. Well, it's more expensive than Adidas top of the range. It's £230 roughly for the Predator and stuff like that. And I think when you start pricing stuff, I don't doubt the quality of the boot. I've never had one in my hands. I've had friends that have had them and stuff like that. But when you start pricing a boot at that sort of price range, you're just hitting so many other football boots to make a choice of. And if you can spend that money on a boot that you've never had the chance to try on because you have to order it online, or you can go into a shop and pay top dollar and get something like that, I know which one I would choose. But you're really, they send them to other influencers and they try them on. And even with the best feedback in the world, it doesn't put the boot on average Joe's foot, and Mizuno's the best example. Everyone I know that does videos like I do, and the bigger guys like Josh over in SR4U and Jacob and ProDirect, they will all tell you that Mizuno is probably the best football boot on the market, and yet they don't sell half as much as Adidas and Nike do because they see it on Ronaldo's foot, Messi's foot, all these other guys. Look at Puma since Neymar went there, people are loving the Puma Platinum King, and it's been out for 2 years, but that marketing is so much better than what anyone else can say about it. So it's a really tough one for these new brands coming. I admire them, totally admire them for trying to do it, but I just don't see sometimes how they get the profit. There's an Australian brand called Concave who've been around for a long, long time.
Yep.
I was lucky enough to get a few pairs of boots from them and stuff like that. And they retail about £160 sometimes. You would never pay it for them, and that's not a distant company in any way at all. There's the cheaper alternatives from the bigger brands are just a better football boot. And that's why I love what Kingdom Football Boots have done, is that they've actually priced it at a point where you think someone might take a punt on it to have something different.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about sort of marketing and positioning for me. It's sort of
course.
It's not a boot brand, but Castor, the manufacturers, the kit manufacturers that went with Andy Murray and stuff like that, and they've signed up with Rangers. They're strongly rumored to be taking over Wolves. Next year, even Newcastle and stuff like that. They're positioned as a very, very premium product. And the way they market themselves and the people they associate themselves with, the clubs and all that, and they're getting there. So, I get that these boots are expensive. They go out into the market, and yes, you can get Adidas, Nike, but if they start just, they need a coup of a player. Like you said, it's Neymar going across the Puma, and then all of a sudden, just get one, have a player that.
But would you rather drop money on that player, or would you rather put that into R&D to kind of make your boots better?
Player, man, at the start, that would be my choice.
This is the Neymar Puma King.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
Obviously it's got his new logo from Puma. And obviously the Puma, I don't know if you've seen these before, but the actual Puma sign is all the Neymar signature logos.
Very cool.
So very, very good. And this was the crazy. This dropped, and I went online. I like signature boots of players. So I've got all Neymar's boots, I've got all Pogba's boots, I've got all Ronaldo. Got rid of some of the messy ones because they just went, I didn't like them. Got this one, and this sold out within 2 hours on all the websites. No one knows the actual numbers of the football boot, but it's obviously a very low number that it sold out so quickly. And this Puma King Platinum has been out for, I think it's 2 years it's been out for, not getting a lot of love from anyone. And all of a sudden, Neymar throws it on his feet, and people can't get enough of it. Marketing, like you say, because of a player, it's totally worth getting on a player's feet more than anything else, because that's what people are seeing. Obviously, Neymar's an exception. Neymar is just, one of the biggest names in the game. So.
Yeah, I tell you what needs to happen. Mitre need to make a comeback, and they need to they need to sign up someone like Weston McKennie or Gio Reyna or one of these guys, and just have a big coup like that for the future.
Hey, I'd go after someone like Lewandowski. Lewandowski, because you've got you kind of break into that top 4 players kind of globally. Yeah.
A big brand that are trying to come back is do you remember the company? Well, I don't remember them, but Stylo, however you want to say it.
George Best boots, right back in the 70s.
Now, it seems like a guy's bought the rights to Stylo, and they're awful. They're absolutely awful. And And it's a real shame, because that's a brand where you've got a lot of heritage there. A lot of the older players in the Sunday Leagues would probably gladly wear a pair of them if they brought out a boot that was decent. But the whole marketing thing is, you know, you can get this boot for £40 now, which is reduced from £200. It's just, you know, and that's a real shame, because that's a company with real heritage.
Yeah.
That, like you said, straight away, George Best name pops into your head if you know your boots and stuff like that. And that's a company that's just gone completely down the wrong line, trying to get modern boots. I mean, some of the rip-off copies of Nike's boot they've done and just shoved the Stilo badge on the side. Honestly, it's embarrassing, but it's just...
Oh, wow.
Stylo, yeah. They were, I mean, I think George Best sort of came out with them, and they looked like carpet slippers, you know, going into the 70s, you know, back then. They were white. I think one of the first white ones that would come out, and everyone...
I think bowling shoes, they all kind of looks like on the side of it a little bit, but it's not.
Yeah,
nice.
I'll need to check that out. I did not know they were back.
Wow,
You know,
okay.
I'll
Okay,
take
interesting.
a look.
Yeah.
Really interested to see what happens.
Let's keep an eye on that. Yeah, see how it progresses.
Yeah.
Buy them cheap. Don't worry, you can buy them cheap.
Very cool. Very cool. So, mate, look, we wanted to, obviously, ahead of the show, ahead of filming, we asked you to kind of pick out your best boots of 2020. Obviously, it's been an indifferent year because of COVID and the entire situation that we're kind of facing, and obviously the staggered seasons. But and for some time, actually, the manufacturers weren't bringing out much. We kind of reviewed a lot of the national team in the Euro League and the Nations League kits that dropped earlier, and we felt that a lot of effort had been kind of pulled back from the actual releases of the kits. Did you find that this year had an impact on the way that, you know, boots were designed and released and what they look like, or did you see the opposite happen?
I know. I think the boots still launched, because the problem is with a football boot is it's all about technology, you know, and like the Euro kit, wearing a shirt, they can change that for 1 year. It doesn't actually matter. Next summer, they could have kept the designs from this year and launched it again next year if they'd wanted to, if the tech wasn't going to change. Whereas with boots, you know, the Predator 20 Plus, well, the 21 Plus will be coming out in December, January time, so they can't release the old boot. So the boots still came out. What did happen that was a bit different was obviously the timing of the boots were held up because of COVID and so on like that. Like the X-Ghosted Plus launched in August, I think. It was only available from the 1st of September. Some places still struggled to get it in. And I know in Australia, Ultra Football did it. They didn't get it till the end of November, start of December and stuff like that. Wow. There's been a lot of held up issues on getting boots to places. But some companies have stuck to their launch dates, but it's more like now it's a pre-order and you'll get them when we can get them to you rather than actually anything else. But no, the boots have still come out. It's still been all there. You know, the bank balance is still going down. So, you know, the boots have definitely been coming out. Do you just want me to go through some of the boots from this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So I got to talk about this one first, because this came out in January of the year. So this was the Predator Archive. This was where Adidas there was two collectors that are good friends of mine, Chris Kemp and Hinson. They're massive Predator collectors. All they do is collect Predators. So what they were tasked by doing, working in line with what the guys at Adidas were doing, was make a Predator that made up of 5 or 6 or 7 different Predators from the past. So on the side here, we've got the Predator Absolute, but on this from 2006. But on this one, you got the Pred Pulse from 2004 on this side. On the other boot, they did the Pred X from 2010. And then you had the Power Swerve from 2000 here. And also what they did was they put, like, this is the Beckham colorway of the Power Swerve here, the gold and the chrome on this side. This boot, again, this was limited to 2,000 pairs. And this was just before the new Predator had come out. We'd never seen a low collar on a Pred for a little while again. So this was like showing what they could do in that. And this boot's really sort of upset the market and collectors and stuff, because people love it and people hate it. I'm right on the fence. My 2 good friends helped make the boot, so that makes me like it. But I hate the blue color. I hate the blue. Blue is not a Predator color to me.
No,
you know,
mate. I was going to say I'm not a fan of that. Like
looking
at that,
it's a Rigobert song boot.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing in mind was when the Adi Power came out in 2011, I think it was. It was a blue version of that was the first colorway. So that's why this blue's come out. And I believe that they didn't want to do a red, black, and white boot because they were waiting to launch the Predator 20 Plus in red, black, and white. So they didn't want to take anything away from it. When I did it first, if you ever go back and look at Instagram TV and look at the boots, the videos I did, I was, oh, it's an amazing boot. I love the concept. It's fine, blah, blah, blah. And then the two guys that helped design the boot, they were actually given a red and black version of this football boot. And it is absolutely stunning. It's and it just, then they got a blackout version of it. And now I feel a bit hard done by that. The pair that I was able to buy is the worst of the three colorways, you know, and they weren't.
Do you?
I like them. I think they look cool, man. Like,
you know, it's I love the concept more than I love the boot. It's brilliant that a big company like Adidas have looked at a couple of collectors and thought, you know what, we want to get their input on this football boot and stuff like that. I love that side of things. But I'm just not, I'm on the fence. Like I say, I can't say I love them. I can't say I hate them, but I absolutely love the concept behind them. So that's one of the boots of this year that's really been, I'm doing my top 10 just now. And I don't know if it's in there, yes or not, even though I've started it, because part of me thinks it could be boot number 1 of the year, but it could also be boot 50 of the year, you know, so I really don't know. Obviously, we had the human race boot I spoke about earlier. Definitely one of the best boots of the year by far. I think just the whole project, you know, how much Pharrell Williams had to do with designing that, I'm not 100% sure, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, Pogba, yes. Pogba's a big Predator fan, loves the accelerators from before. He wore them back in 2014 when they did the first remake of them. So I believe Pogba. Pharrell Williams, really not sure.
He's more part of the marketing campaign.
I think so.
Sitting around that table where they're having the conversation.
You know, like I don't know how much he likes his Man United, Juventus, and kits and stuff like that. You know, but it was something to push. I mean, this is another one that came out this year. This is the Ultra SL. This is the lightest football boot that's ever been made, and it was a collaboration with a company called Rimac. Now, I'd never heard of Rimac before, but apparently they do hypercars, electric cars, the fastest cars in the world. Talking millions to buy the car. So Puma did a collaboration, and now this boot only weighs 90 grams. Well, I say that. If you buy it in a size 8 UK, it weighs 90 grams. I bought this in my size, a 9 UK, and it's 99 grams. And that annoys me a little bit because up until now, the lightest boot in the world was 99 grams by Adidas. So they bought this one, which is the lightest boot in the world, and my one isn't the lightest because I bought it in my own size. And it's the same as everything else, you know. So it's one of those really, really small details that kind of annoys me. I wish they bought a different size now just to have
the lightest.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the bigger size you buy, the more it's going to weigh type thing. So, but it's a great boot. This was limited. Can't remember how many pairs it was to, but it came in a really nice box explaining about the car, explaining about the boot, stuff like that. Griezmann wore these in a Champions League game, and after like 7 minutes, scored in it. It's like the perfect marketing for,
of course,
you know, fantastic boot.
I always remember. So you mentioned is it Rimac, the car brand? So I always remember watching F1 in the early 2000s. And seeing Puma all over the kind of pit crew uniforms, and I thought, wow, that was a great kind of segue for them anyway, or a bit of a transition into other sports, and always kind of had that. And of course, they've always had that line of automotive, like let's say collections. I think they still continue to this day. So it's interesting to see that kind of come through in that pair of boots.
In the football boot world, I mean, Puma did way back in 2000 and I think it was 2007. They did a Ferrari football boot. Then they then did another Ferrari boot. They've also done a collaboration with BMW with the M series, and then they did the Ducati Evo Speed SL as well. And there's talk of a new one potentially as well, another collaboration. So you know, Puma are very much in the motorsport, and again, it just ties them into another market. You know, you get Ferrari fans wanting to buy the boots and stuff. They don't even play football, but they just see a Ferrari thing. Oh, I must have someone, especially in this part of the world, you know, where they just see stuff with a badge in it, and that's just exactly what I want and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a big thing.
Let's just hope Bugatti don't start making boots anytime soon.
It was rumored last year that Bugatti and Ronaldo and Nike were going to do a boot. Now I can only imagine how fast that would sell if they ever did do something like that, you know, because, you know, obviously Ronaldo's got a couple of Bugattis in his garage along with everything. And that kind of boot would just, that to me, that's one of the ultimate collaborations. If they ever did that, it would just be insane. Something like that. Another boot that came out this year was the GT. And this was The Phantom GT itself replaced the Phantom Venom, which has replaced the Hyper Venom, and this seems to be given a lot of kudos from people. And obviously, this one for the older people with the Scorpion on the side of it for the secret tournament and stuff like that.
The cage,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves it. I mean, as a United fan, Cantona, when he used to always somehow sneak into a Nike video at some point, you know, he used to always love it. He was obviously the referee. Well, he wasn't even a referee, was he? He was more of just
the organizer.
Like exactly. The MC.
Conducting it, that's what we'll call a conductor for the advert. Yeah. And, you know, this was just a great collaboration. I mean, this boot, I'm not sold on the football boot itself. I mean, I saw the pictures, and everyone that had the boot in hand said the Scorpion didn't look good. And I was looking at the pictures, and I actually quite liked that. And then I got it in hand, and I totally agree with them that it's just too big on the side of the boot and stuff like that. But this is the only Phantom GT I've bought so far because it was a special edition and obviously a throwback to that one. I've also got the chrome ball that came out way back then. This is just crazily bright and stuff. It's a really, really great boot.
You see yourself in it, like Ronaldinho video, right?
Trying to do a picture for Instagram is a nightmare of that ball because if you get any angle, you just see yourself holding your phone. You know, you try to do it at the side like this to try and get away from it. So, but I mean, again, it's a nostalgia boot. I mean, people, just because of the throwback, I mean, a lot of people said it should have been on a Vapor, they'd done this boot instead of on the new Phantom GT, but I think they're pushing the Phantom GT because it's such a new boot and stuff like that. And you're seeing, I think it was Mason Greenwood was wearing this actual boot when he played for Man United recently and stuff like that. So it is obviously getting a big thing of it. Obviously, I showed you the Puma Neymar boot. Like I say, just a signature boot. But again, one of the best boots for this year. I wish we had numbers on it because I think it'd be a very, very low. How fast they sold out. People slept on it for a night thinking about it, and then you know it's out.
How heavy is that boot, by the way?
Sorry?
How heavy is that boot? Is it?
I've never weighed it, but it's a light Puma. I mean, obviously, if you know Puma Kings from the past, they're quite heavy boots.
That's why I was asking. Yeah.
Now this is sort of like a lighter weight. Obviously, the better materials. Now it does feel quite light. I mean, I'd say that it's probably about the same weight as the Phantom GT, just a very rough one they're looking at. Right. I'll put that on Instagram later. You give me a job to do now. I'll get that on Instagram later as on my stories just to see actually the weight of this football boot. But it's just such a nice, sleek looking boot. I mean, Neymar shocked a lot of people wearing this because obviously they've just released the Ultra, which is their speed boot, and everyone thought he'd go into that. And then when he came out in a Puma King, I mean, that was more for the story of being But you know, a really, really sound bit of marketing there.
It was the perfect boot for him to kind of segue to Puma with. I mean, there was no other boot there for him, honestly.
I mean, Puma are making big statements this year. You know, you got Martial wearing the Ultra, although it's blacked out. You know, he's wearing the Ultra. You've got a lot of players now starting to look at wearing Puma, which we haven't. You know, people leaving Nike, which is unheard of. You know, leaving big brands like that and going to. But whether Nike are feeling the crunch a bit more and they're getting rid of sort of the older player and bringing up a lot more of the younger players. Jadon Sancho got his own boot this year. Not a fan of that boot myself, but you can see what they're doing with trying to get younger players onto their boots, and maybe your Neymars, and maybe they want to move them on now and stuff like that and not give the contract out. I don't know. It's just here's it. Obviously there was this boot which is we spoke about already, which is a throwback. I mean the X-Ghoster has been everyone wanted a throwback to the F50. And when you probably know the story about the 6 companies getting to redesign them and stuff like that. And then my friends at Unisport did this, which is just crazy. You know,
the other side.
This is what Son was wearing for Tottenham when he scored against Arsenal, that screamer from the edge of the box. My friend Jacob at Unisport was one of the designers of this boot, and he was going nuts when he scored it for a boot that he's designed to then be on the foot of a player like Son. And again, total Marmite boot. Some love it, some absolutely hate it because it's just, you know, you got to be a special player to wear this sort of boot again, but limited to 500 pairs. It's one of the most hyped boots this year without a doubt. It's sold out faster than any of the other F50 boots. I mean, the Pro Direct boot sold out in a couple of hours. This, as soon as you went on the internet, the website, it looked like it had crashed. And then when you eventually got on, it said sold out within 5 minutes. Wow. You know, that was 400 pairs of the boot. So great boot, great design. Just taking everything. This is a mixture of 2 different F50s over the years crushed together to make this boot. And it's very, very hyped. And one of the best, both of them. I mean, that's the same. Someone got the same remit for a job, and that's the way 2 different companies did it. You know, it's just shows you what some people can think of.
Yeah.
You know, with two different products. I love both of them because I love the black one because it's just such a classic looking boot. But then I love that company of going, let's go crazy on it and see what we can do. And you've seen them on the feet of all the pros just now. I mean, I just got this one for James McLean, who's at Stoke now. I've managed to get a pair of these for him. Rivaldo's son, Rivaldinho, he's going to be wearing, I don't know if you saw the 11 team sport boot, which is the red, black and white edition. I managed to get a pair of them for him to wear. He's going to be wearing them. He's playing in Poland now. Wow. And which is, it's great when pros get in touch that you can try and help them, get stuff like this for them. So, it's quite a buzz for me. And just seeing these boots on his feet is just phenomenal, So that's kind of I don't give too much away because obviously I'm doing my top 10.
No problem at all.
But that's some of the best boots of this year, without a shadow of a doubt, that are out there. So
the fact that you have all of those just at your reach at the moment is phenomenal. Anyway,
I've got a few more around me just to it's all here.
So as I mentioned before, we're into the kind of more like classic nostalgic boots, and you said you've got a couple of classics there as well with you.
Yeah.
Would you want to run us through those?
I'll do Nike first. So obviously there's this one, which took me a long time to find. The Air Zoom Total T90. This is the first one, and I just think Edgar Davids in that when I see this boot and stuff like that. It's just absolute. To get this white colorway is so difficult. Ideally I would have it with the firm ground sole plate, but the only one I'd be able to find brand new is the soft ground, which sounds silly, but in my world, the FGs they're worth more. People look for the FG boot, but in older football boots like this one, you just take what you can get. Sometimes you don't. You get this one when the FG eventually appears. You buy that, then you sell this one. That's kind of the way that it goes. So this is us to go back.
That looks like, to me, that's a solid piece of equipment.
Was that was what, 1994 or something?
This is 2000s.
2000s. Okay.
Early 2000s, right? Or
early 2000s. Now this is a great boot. This is I actually wear a takedown model of this boot when I'm coaching still with the firm ground sole plate on it. Nice. Just because I like having the retro boot on my feet anyway. And it's to this day, it's still very comfortable. That's what this. I try on some of these new football boots, and the Adidas Glitch boot. I don't know if you ever seen the Glitch. It's got the sock and then you put it inside. I can't even get them on. I can't even slide in. One of my friends, Jorma, keeps saying, I've got old ankles. That's all that is. You can't get it fixed. But these boots are just classics. They're just such a comfortable football boot. Great looking boot. And you always think, your Figos and stuff like that wore this boot back in the day. Just a great looking boot. The other Nike one I bought, which is a recent addition to my collection, is this one. The Vapor 2 in the gold colorway, the R9 colorway. Obviously, Cristiano Ronaldo was wearing this. I think the Euros in 2004. He was wearing this for Portugal. And this pair has never even been laced up. Just a phenomenal football. I'm trying to get one of each Vapor. I don't want every colorway of each Vapor. I just want sort of, for me, the most iconic colorway of each Vapor for my collection. And the gold one always stuck out for me, the Vapor 2. And to get it in this condition, and I think it's my size as well. Yeah, it's a UK 9. So not that I'll ever wear it, but it's just one of those classic boots. I wore the Vapor 1. I was living in Spain at the time, and I bought the Vapor 1 because everyone was raving about it. I hated it. On foot. And I'm sure if I wore this on foot, I'd probably hate it as well. But I love the sort of way the technology has changed, and all the great boots we're seeing now are a result of the mistakes that were made with these boots and stuff like that, So that's sort of the two Nike boots I brought in. 1994, I brought them. This is the boot that my wife bought me for Christmas.
I got a pair of those original ones back home somewhere in Australia, in my mum's garage somewhere.
They
are just. These are bricks. These are absolute bricks on your feet. But 1994 when they came out, if someone walked on the pitch wearing this boot, they were the best player on the team. Yeah. They were going to be taking all the free kicks. They were going to be doing it. They were just, and people noticed that. And let's go back. 1994. That to me, from what I remember, there wasn't a lot of choice of boots out there. Everyone had 6 studs on the bottom. You had a tongue, and that was pretty much it. Or your football boots. And then all of a sudden, this came out with the technology side of things. and everyone just went absolutely nuts over it, you know, and it became I think the retail price of this was £90 back then. I couldn't afford that. I was nowhere near that kind of value for a pair of football boots.
What's that moment now? I mean, you know, you just said it, you know, boots were like that. You've got that comes out. What's today's moment where that's happened and things have really changed? Has there been a moment like that recently when it comes to boots?
That's a great question, because I've had a few chats about this with people saying about all these remakes that are coming out.
Yeah.
Everyone's nuts over the remakes, but in 20 years' time, how are we going to get remakes of today's football boots if the best boots that are coming out today are remakes of 20 years ago? If that makes sense. You know, like the most sought after Predator 20 plus is probably this one.
Yeah.
But in 20 years' time, you can't say it's a remake of this boot, because this is a remake of another football boot. Yeah. You know, so they need to, I agree, they need a boot. Now, I think just now it's more about the materials. You know, when they started bringing in knitted uppers in 2014 with the Magista and the Superfly, that was a big game changer in the synthetics and stuff like that, what they could actually do. But, you know, the Predator...
Ex-ghosted. I mean, you know, there's a version with laces, version without. The ones that just sort of mold on. Is that something, you know, that's going to change the game? I don't know.
Technologies going. I mean, it's been a long time since I've genuinely got excited by a football boot release. Apart from the Predator 20 plus, I think this was genuinely a wow moment this year. Without that, especially the low cut version. If you're playing, you know, I've got a low cut version that I wear from time to time as well, and the low cut one was for. It gave the youngsters the sock they wanted on the football boot, but then gave the little bit older guys the low cut version that they wanted as well. And you got a lot of good stuff from it. I mean, that's the first time I was excited by it. But I mean, like when the Phantom GT came out, I was like, it's a nice idea, but didn't really get you excited and stuff like that. And that's one of the biggest problems with my hobby just now, is it takes a lot to get you excited by stuff. Even the limited editions that are coming out now, there's not really a lot out there. Apart from, I will say that these two did excite me because it was just a crazy idea. And friends of mine working on the projects and stuff like that makes it a bit interesting. But it's really hard now to get that wow moment, like you say, the 94 Predator, that even if you weren't born in 94, you all know the story about the Predator football boot, and it's Nike's most successful, Adidas' most successful silo and stuff like that. The Mercurial from 98 that Ronaldo wears around his neck at the World Cup, you know, we've all seen those images, and the Mercurial Vapor has got that. But realistically, they're the only two silos that are out there now that people actually have that sort of history with. You know, the Predator and the Vapor. Copa Mundial, everyone loves, but, you know, until you get to 35, you're not going to be wearing them, let's be honest. You know, they're right down your list of boots, aren't they? So it's a tough one.
There was a time where they re-released the Copa Mundials, but in like different colorways, and then they turned them into the Adi Pures, and then they kind of went off on a tangent. But I was never a fan of the kind of remakes of the Mundials that they made in, like, I think a purple and yellow, and then a blue and green
pack for the World Cup.
That's right.
I only bought the pink pair. I think they were pink with green stripes on it and stuff that.
Derek.
It was horrific. I sold them to a friend of mine, actually, so well done to that guy, you know. But he loves them. He loves wearing them and stuff like that, you know. And it's just one of those things. I think what it did do at that point was, though, that the Copa Mundial became a bit trendy for a little bit. Yeah. You know, they did an orange one, a green one, I think it was a blue one, a pink one, and stuff like that. And it meant that people that wanted to be a little bit more out there could still have the classic Copa look or feel, but on, you know, that modern. And that's what I think some of these companies are trying to do. Giving a modern take on a football boot that looks historical is kind of what they want sometimes, things like that.
Yeah.
The only other bit I was going to show you very quickly was this one, which is the Predator Absolute from 2000.
Oh, wow. And who's that signed by?
Xavi. Xavi, because Xavi's obviously here in Qatar as a manager over here, was a player. And this was his boot, Evo. So a company called Rare Boots for You in the UK, Xavi contacted them. They sent him about 7 or 8 pairs of Predators. And I know Xavi's brother through schooling. Xavi's nephew came into school one day and said, "Oh, Mr. Lyon, I've got something for you." And he gave me these football boots.
Amazing.
Wow.
So this was awesome. So it's signed by Xavi on this side. I've been very lucky. I've got 3 pairs of his boots now. All training boots. I mean, not from his Barcelona days, which would be the incredible option.
Yeah.
But to get even these training worn boots, I mean, these are actually broken. In the bottom how they had a plastic bar here, like the pulse.
Yep.
That's actually broken. It's in pieces. So that's why I think I got these from them, because you can't wear them anymore. But it's a great look. It was a great boot back in the day as well. This is probably the best colorway of the Absolute as well, without a doubt. So yeah, to get these boots from Xavi was just,
amazing,
incredible.
amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, Dave, you had a really good question about Xavi. Did you want to ask?
I saw you met him on your Instagram, previously, and you sort of presented him with some boots. How was that? I mean, how is he as a guy? I mean, is he into boots? Has he sort of got a passion for that as well?
Yeah, I mean, he's a massive Predator pretty much at the end of the day. He loves his Predator now. Obviously, he's been contracted through it for a long, long time. Yeah, listen, I'm lucky. I know his brother quite well. His brother Oscar's one of his coaches here. And I taught his brothers, well, his niece and nephew in the school that I work in. Got chatting to his brother quite well. I keep in touch with his brother more. And I was fortunate enough, his brother got me a couple of signed shirts. You remember when Nike brought out the Barcelona multi-shirt from like 10 years ago?
Yeah.
20 shirt. So his brother got that signed for me and stuff, which was fun. I mean, Xavi's one of the legends of the game, isn't he? They don't get much bigger than Xavi in Barcelona terms, that's for sure.
That's true.
So he got me a couple of signed shirts. So I gave his brother, I gave Oscar a pair of it was the Copa Mundials, the 25th anniversary edition thing. Came in a nice gift box to say thank you to him. But I was like, what do you give Xavi to say thank you for? I've had multiple signed shirts from him. I've had multiple training boots from him. I didn't know what to get him as a thank you for all the stuff. So obviously now you're seeing a lot more custom boot designers and stuff like that on the internet and stuff like that. And I got in touch with a guy in China, Pete Zheng, who's done a lot of work. You've maybe seen Murata's boots recently. He's just done on the Exposed. That's the artist I spoke to. Told him my ideas and stuff. Like he'd done boots for Beckham and Pogba and De Gea and stuff like that when they were doing when United did the Chinese tour. And I just spoke to him. I wanted to do something for Xavi. What can we do for him? We spoke about it. So we did a Barcelona boot and a Spain boot. Put the years the World Cup win and the Euro wins on it. Stuff. So really, really nice. The guy's artwork is just phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to make sure I could actually present the boots to him rather than just send them on. I was invited to a training session. Fortunately, I think it was about 2 weeks before COVID shut the country down. Mm-hmm. So it actually worked out to be good timing for me. So yeah, got the boots here, managed to meet up with him. And I see he's a massive Predator fan. He will talk, he's quite happy to talk about his boots, and he's been wearing the remake of this football boot. When he was playing in his last couple of years, he was wearing the remake that came out last year, the Beckham version of this one. And he was happy to chat about his Predators and stuff like that. And just a very, very down-to-earth guy. And I'm lucky that I've met him in a scenario where it's not when there's been cameras there and all the rest of it. One-to-one. I haven't met him. I have only met him twice, and like I say, not for very long. But I have had the chance to have a little chat with him and stuff like that. Yeah, he's a very, very sound guy.
What's his English? What's his English like, or were you speaking to him in Spanish?
No, very, very good. Very good. His English is very good. I think when they coach over here, they coach in English. So the speaking English is very. I mean, I lived in Spain for 5 years, and my Spanish is appalling. It's absolutely appalling. But no, his English is very, very good. And like I said, it's just nice when you meet someone like that, and they are the whole family. He's like his brother is absolutely brilliant. I got a lot of good conversations with him and stuff like that. And it's wherever I've lived, I try and go and watch local football as much as I can. When you live here, I love just going to watch as much football as I can. So I go to a game roughly every 2 weeks, sometimes every week when I can.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Fans are back now. I think I saw the cup final a week ago, and it was stadium was packed.
Yeah.
It's when it comes to 20,000 fans, that's the maximum we ever had. You had to do a COVID test before you got in.
Oh, really?
Wow. Okay.
You bought a voucher for the ticket. The voucher, you then had to go to a test centre, get tested, and an hour later, if it came back negative, you got a ticket to the game, and then they did it for 20,000 people. Only 2 days before the game. And the day before the game, you could do it.
That is unbelievable. Wow. It's great that there's so much interest. I mean, for 20 fans to go down. I know Al Sada like the team.
Yeah, well, it's Santi Cazorla, isn't it?
Yeah.
From Arsenal, man. Yeah.
He's absolutely killing it since he came here. But the football here has taken off in the last. I mean, I've seen some great players. When I moved here, Juninho was here. You remember from Lyon and stuff. he was playing for Al Garraf at the time, and it was phenomenal. Then we had Raul here, but we had a lot of good players coming in. I mean, Xavi came here, that's probably the biggest name.
Yeah.
But at that point in time, Al-Sadd weren't the best team. Al Duhail were slightly stronger. But now Santi Cazorla's come in, and they've got a Brazilian called Guilherme who came from Panathinaikos, I think it was, and he just bosses it. The two of them together, just.
It's good. I mean, we saw over here in the UAE, we've talked about it on the show a couple of times. A lot of marketing went into it about 7 or 8 years ago into the league here. Maradona was here, David O'Leary, Cannavaro, but then it's sort of
fizzled out,
and now the focus is primarily looking at Saudi Arabia and elsewhere.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd ever hear Maradona followed by David O'Leary. I'm telling you, in Cannavaro. I never thought that before.
That's the eclectic region.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
It attracts the best. There's no one really of note that I could say stands out in the UAE league anymore. They've not had those marquee signings recently like they used to. Even coaches.
Was we had Laurent Blanc just signed for a club here as well. So Laurent Blanc and Xavi as the two coaches is just
huge. It's a massive draw. Yeah.
I was looking forward to that one. It'll be good. That's what people have been asking lots. I've been some of the companies here.
Well, mate, this has been phenomenal. It's been really insightful.
Super interesting.
Yeah,
really enjoyed
absolutely. I think we really appreciate your time. You know, the time that you've spent with us, kind of talking us through the boots and just kind of the general conversation. You know, because you're only across the pond, essentially. You know?
No, I love boots and stuff like that. I say I'm very passionate about hobby and stuff like that. So yeah, anytime you want to chat about boots or anything, you just drop me. Just no Liverpool shirts in the background next time, yeah?
No doubt.
It still hurt.
Sorry, mate. That's an oversight.
It's a Warrior one as well. It's not even a brand.
Yeah, fair play. Well, look, thanks again for coming on. We really appreciate it. And
have a great time. I hope to see you again soon, guys. Okay?
So there you have it, guys. We learned a lot from that conversation with Derek just then about the boots, the boot market, kind of globally and of course regionally as well. Please tell us what you took away from that. We could have talked to him about this for hours on end. Lots there to learn, and of course lots there to see and to kind of be amazed about. So again, big thank you to Derek Lyon for that at Dlbootroom. Check out his Insta, and please. Like, subscribe, share this video, follow him, follow us, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.